Well, a wonderful good morning to you, Grenada, Cargo, Petey Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. Grenada, it is Monday. It is the third day of the month of January, and I have to make sure that I pause and I get it correctly for failure that I still assume that I've not crossed over into the year 2022. It's a wonderful, beautiful Monday morning. You don't have to believe me, but it is what it is. And whether or not you acknowledge it, life is going to go along its merry way. Good morning to you. I'm Joseph Cadore, and indeed it's a pleasure being here with you. Welcome to The Point. To The Point for today, the third day. And I'm certainly happy that you're here with me. I'm here with you so that we can share in this glorious experience of making each other better versions of ourselves. Well, today we're going to, I know you're probably thinking, okay, first day of the year, we're going to talk politics. No. We're not going to talk politics, folks. Wherever you are, those of you in Radio Classic 105.5, 105.9, those of you that's on television, that's GBN's Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20, if you are in cable, or possibly if you're on the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd, our Facebook page, or our YouTube channel. Welcome to the program. My guest this morning, and today we'll be talking about life. My guest this morning, Andrea Rapier. And the difficulty you have is as to which cap do I bestow on her today to introduce her. So today I will introduce her as friend Patty Wow. Today we're just going to chit chat and we talk about us. You know, folks, as we get into the new year, it is a time, Andrea, good morning to you and welcome to the program, when we think of resolutions. How do I become the next best version of myself? And while we have 365 days to do it, somehow the start of the year often serves as a catalyst. Where would we think, you know what? Let me do this. And then 2 weeks down the line, wow, what happened? Why do we make resolutions, though? And that's my opening question to you. Good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Joseph, and thanks for having me. Good morning to the listeners. Happy New Year to you. You know, we were born to evolve. We are designed to evolve. What we're capable of is godlike. And so within us, there is always a dissatisfaction with where we are. There's a dissatisfaction with complacency, and we want to always achieve more. We want to do more. We want to give more. We want to get more. The end of the year, with that humanity, I will say this first, comes the need to open and close, to finish and begin. The end of a thing is a signal of the beginning of another thing. And as the year ends, we're all curious about what we're starting, and we want to take some control over that. And so we make resolutions as a way of directing ourselves and directing the change that we want to happen. The challenge is that the word resolution means firm decision. So it really is going to take more than one night to snap the finger and have change, because the resolution means firm decision. Most of the time, we make an emotional decision. This is what I feel. This is what I felt this year. This is I feel like what I want this year. We really don't take the time prior to December 31st to architecture the direction of our lives over the long term. So at the end of the year, we can look back at the things that we dislike, our disappointments, the failures that we perceive, and we want in the new year to promise ourselves that we're going to do more and we're going to be better. The thing is, the same person who sat at midnight and toasted that glass of wine or champagne is the same person 7 o'clock the next morning. Nothing changes. So if we haven't already evolved into December 31st before it arrives, we pretty much don't have evolution in January 1st. And that's why they fade away after 2 weeks, if it lasts that long even.
If it lasts that long. I would assume, based on what you're saying, that evolution should be the start of a revolution in your life, where we decide, you know what, no more shall I, and you start listing those things that would follow. No more shall I be that angry person. No more shall I be that individual that accept mediocrity. No more would I assume that I'm at base level, but understanding that I am up here, above, and I live above. No more do I live beneath my means and my circumstances, but I elevate myself.
Yes. So this is beautiful that you went there. The thing is that our lives have a long-term trajectory of becoming. We're not what we do, we are what we are, of becoming. If we are not decisive on our becoming, then we live responding and reacting to circumstances, and circumstances and situations and relationships define who we are in the moment. So my angry outbursts that I'm tired of, that I want to change, they have been subject to the moment that has triggered that emotion. Prior to that moment, we have to decide on self-leadership. I must decide who I am in the context of my emotions prior to having a situation of an outburst, so that I can progressively shift who I am becoming, how I manage my emotional intelligence over time. There is no quick fix to change. So change comes with a decision. So the first thing is the decision. And the last program we had on Christmas Eve, I talked a little bit about our sovereignty. And everything in your environment is designed to accommodate your decision. The problem is that we don't realize how powerful we are and how much leadership responsibility we have over ourselves and our environment. And so we take a subjective position and we yield to what's pressing against us when we are supposed to be the pressure on the environment that we're in. So if I know I have anger challenges, I need to look at my life as to what is the contrast of that? What do I want my response to be when in a situation that could trigger this level of anger and outburst? Who do I want to be? What will it take for me to evolve from who I am today in this area of my life to who I want to become? So there must be a target. Then there must be a plan. For example, when I become angry, when I'm triggered, I'm going to walk away and contemplate for a moment and calm down. I won't address the thing that's addressing me, so that I can return and command that thing in a calm, intelligent manner and actually bring a resolution. So that's a plan. And every time you have an outburst, you will realize I missed the target. And you go back and you introspect, you examine why, and then you take it again the next time. And not from a posture of failure, but from a posture of growth. I didn't get it this time, but now I recognize where I missed the mark. And that means I'm growing. Just recognition means I'm growing. The honesty with myself, telling myself the truth about who I am, and really looking at the challenge of who I am becoming, and then grabbing it by the horns and actually doing it. That requires a level of self-leadership.
Well, we touch on a whole lot of things. We talk about leadership. You mentioned emotional intelligence. But while we are this, though, Andrea, let's talk about understanding who we are, because all of this change that we intend to orchestrate, pivotal to all of that, must be our appreciation of who am I. And would you agree that most of us, 90% of us, we have no idea who we are? And I can see some folks out there that start going, like, seriously, JC, I don't know who I am? Share with us, what are some of the challenges that people literally make when they're asked the question, who are you?
Well, most of us have allowed ourselves to be defined by something or someone, and we haven't gone back to the source. So if I am defined by what my mom said I was, and she told me I was ugly, every time I look in the mirror, I detest the image, right? If I am defined by what my teacher said, that I'm dumb, every time I address learning, I am handicapped within my own mind. So we've been defined by the wrong things and the wrong people. We've defined ourselves even by our failures. So if we shake off everything people say about us or to us, if we could shake off everything that we do, just for a moment, if we could shake off everything that we have, because we tend to think sometimes that we are what we have. I drive a nice car, I live in the right neighborhood, I have a nice house, my children go to private school. It means I am somebody. But remember that at conception, you were somebody. What it took in biology for you to be you is so unique and so complex that no one else on the planet is you. And no one else can become you. You have been specifically architectured to be who you are. And all of who you are is in here. So if we could just regress a little bit, shake off all our progress, all our failures, all our friends, all our society, and come into me and see. Come into me and see. Have intimacy with yourself. Intimacy. Come into me and see who I am. And one of the things that I challenge my clients as a consultant is I take them back to when they're about age 5, and I ask them then, who were you at age 5? Before you found out what you couldn't be, what you couldn't do, what you can have, what you can't have. Who were you then? What did you believe about yourself? What did you want to achieve in life? What was your dream? Because that's probably the most authentic you remember, and we can build from.
And you get the sense, would you agree, that very often that is the seat of people's anger, the dissatisfaction, the discontentment. They started off years ago wanting a particular thing in life, but some way, because of circumstances, and let's be truthful, we were forced to make a decision. You know what? I'm going to go this path. But that's not the path that I've really wanted. So we might be in the job, we might be in a relationship, we might be wherever we are. Not necessarily because we've always wanted, that's what we wanted for ourselves. But we decide, you know what, I'm getting old, life is churning away. Let me just settle for second fiddle. And then we find ourselves being unhappy and not even wanting to do anything to move beyond that.
One of the things we can all recognize about youth is energy. Right? We recognize in young people the energy to try, the naive to not understand that they can fail, the naive to think that if I think it, I can do it. The challenge is to keep that energy and that sense of wonder at the world and mystery about who we are as we age and as we find out where barriers are set. If we will allow ourselves to revisit our energy, and when I say energy, we're not talking about the fact that I could pick up a cup, I can get up, I can stand, I can walk, I can go. It's the essence of who you are as a person and where you live from, what river is feeding you. That must be an internal energy because that's the essence of you. So when you come into a room, you have the impact on the atmosphere. I'm sure everybody's had the experience where someone comes around them and all of a sudden they felt excited, they felt energized, they felt hopeful.
Right.
Or someone else they encounter and it's like, I don't know what it is about that person, but every time I'm with her, I feel blah, right? Whatever blah is for you. Because we bring an energy. It's how do we hold our authentic energy? The place where I'm happy is probably the place where you can find your energy flickering, where that light is flickering. So we talked about happiness last time. So this feels like a sequel, Joseph, because if we find our happy place, we find our energy, and we must make a commitment, a firm decision, a resolution to keep it and to live from there. And no one can give you permission to do that but you, because no one else understands your energy or even knows where it is. It's up to you to reveal that to us, to invite us into your intimacy so we can see who you really are. And that's the place where you choose the right career. That's the place where you choose the right spouse. That's the place where you choose how your life is going to look and where you're becoming is targeted.
So let me ask you, I've spent the last 365 days in 2020 and 2021. I'm into the third day of the year, and I've been going through this cycle. And we all want to change. I think it is fair to say that each and every one of us, we want betterment for our lives. But the truth is, Andrea, getting there and making that turnaround is not as easy as it sometimes it sounds, because we've been told all our lives, if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are going to become good citizens, and we carry that around. Let's talk now. So we agree that we are repositioning ourselves to adopt our resolutions which will introduce a revolution in our life. How do we? Where do we start? On this, the third day of January.
I am very glad you asked. I'm going to give you an illustration before I directly answer the question. So, I used to be a soldier in the U.S. Army, and one of the first things we learned
You used to be a what?
A soldier in the U.S. Army. And so we learned how to use our weapons.
Like soldier, Andrea. I just want to make sure I know.
Soldier. Yeah.
Soldier. Okay.
And so we learned to use our weapons very early. And we're learned not to call it a gun. That's significant. We must call it a weapon, because a weapon is a tool. You learn to use that tool, and the way you're taught is first you take it to the range and you fire. 25-meter target, 50 meters, 75, 100, all the way to 400 meters. You fire at these targets that are popping up randomly. Once you've done that, they look actually, at first you fire at a sheet of paper. They look at where your holes are on your target to determine how to set your sight line. On the rifle, there's a little circle and a little lever, vertical lever, that you have to align so that when you aim at a target, it is where you think it is, so that you can hit it where you think you should hit it. So with me, when I did mine, my bullets were all over the place. So one of the things they did was they put this circle in front of you and they say, look through it to decide which is your strong eye. I want you to keep that in mind when we're talking about ourselves. Which is your strong eye? Naturally, on your strong eye, you will shift to where you're looking at that through the circle, through the strong eye. So your right eye is your strong eye. So we're going to set your weapon to your right eye. Do you know that 1 millimeter adjustment on the rifle can move your bullet 100 meters to the target? A very small change with a very big impact. You see, you said something key. We're told 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do this, and this will happen. None of us are equipped to make that many changes at any one time. And here's the thing. The real change is usually at perspective. Not the stuff we want to change, it's really perspective. That's the millimeter change, is my perspective. So my perspective about myself and the things that make me angry, if I change my perspective, I will change my response. So as I look at my life, as I look at 2022, the way I want to engage it, I need to look for the small change. That one perspective, that if I adjust that, everything else will fall in line. And the biggest perspective and the hardest one to change is about who you are. That's the hardest one to change. It's very easy to think that we should change the other person.
Right.
It's easy to assume that we should change things around us. It's easy and things are good. Things can inspire the real perspective change, but they are not what sustains evolution. It's perspective that does. And so we need to keep ourselves informed. And the areas that you know that we're struggling, we should go look for information that could impact our perspective. That's where we start.
It takes honesty then.
Oh, yeah.
We really need to sit and have one of those hard conversations. Look in the mirror and say, Andrea, JC, and ask yourself those hard questions. And you think very often that is the challenge, because we live in a world where we mask everything. We were told to fake it till we make it, pretend that it is all right. And so we put up this facade, and we literally not realizing that we're blinding and blocking ourselves from realizing our true potential, because we're not being honest with ourselves by saying, this is my strength, this is my weakness, oh, this one makes me get angry.
You see, that beautiful facade that we put up, it's impossible to put it on the heart. So I can make you think something of me, but in the very quiet place of who I am, I know I was wrong. I can argue with myself, tell myself any story. But there's this little nagging thing called our conscience that says, hey, pay attention to this right here. So the mirror, I love that you brought it up. What I have done is when I find myself irritated by me, and that happens when I see a repeated weakness, like you do something or you said something inappropriate or whatever it was, and you sort of hit yourself afterward quietly, just you with you,
right.
Like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Then it happens again, shouldn't have said that. By the third time, it's time for the mirror, and I look myself in the eye, which is very difficult, actually. So I really challenge listeners to try this. Look myself in the eye and say, Andrea, cut that out. And I start looking in me, where did it come from and why am I doing it? What is it feeding in me that needs to be disconnected? When I can be honest with that conversation, I find that I don't have the repetition once I have the honesty, because actually it's the secret that keeps us tied to the habit. Once you admit it to yourself and you confront yourself, you become so self-aware that you catch it before it releases itself. And so that has a huge impact. And honestly, that's really the place to start, is that place of honesty. But you have to come out of that place of that honesty, not feeling condemned about who you are, but looking at the possibilities of the power of that information. Now that I know that, okay, so for me, I remember there's a time in my life, I'll be very honest, where some of my behavior was attention getting. It was to get attention. And I had to be honest with myself and say, you're doing it for attention, cut it out. And that made it very easy for me to catch my proclivity as I'm drifting into the behavior, to pull myself back and say, no, I don't want this attention. And after a couple times of that victory, it became a non-issue for me.
But what?
Also, it helped having someone really close that you could confide in, who would be honest with you about you.
And that's where the secret of your choice of friends and friendships and relationship comes in, because we often we assume that our friends are supposed to be our yes men. You know what, Andrea is my girl, so I'm not going to tell her you're wrong. But the truth is, you need to position yourself around people that can say to you, look in your eye and say, girl, you were wrong. JC, I understand why you did it, but you were dead wrong. And be honest and accept it.
You see, back to what I said about intimacy, we must allow ourselves to be vulnerable with people. We must be selective on who they are, absolutely. But sometimes you have to take the risk. And if the person fails you, it's okay. You could get up again. You're designed to survive. You're designed to learn. You're designed to grow. You'll be okay. You'll get up again. But testing yourself and finding people that you can trust, who you can allow to be intimate with you, because then they could call you up to the table when you're in error, but they also can compliment you and boost your confidence and encourage you at the things that you're great at and push you and propel your life forward. And you don't need a lot of people to do that. You just need one or two people who you can let into your inner circle. And it takes humility to do that. It takes humility, because it could be insulting sometimes, it could be embarrassing sometimes, but that's what intimacy is about. As a matter of fact, if we would be intimate in our homes, with our children, with our partners, with our siblings, we would find that we're building a stronger society, because we all need a place to be real, because that's the place where you give birth to new things in yourself, and that's the place where you give birth to growth.
We have to take a break in just a while. I remember a couple of years ago, I had in my youth group, there was one of the young persons that said to me, they said that my parents are fake, they're pretenders. So imagine a young person saying that to you, and my eyes, what do you mean by that? And they said to me, because mommy and daddy says one thing, but they do another. And here's what, it wasn't about them living this separate life that nobody knew of, you know. They said to me, they pretend as though it is all okay, when as children we know it isn't all okay. Touch on that for me. Touch on being honest. We talked about building those relationships with our children and the image that what we send to them and how it affects them. Remember, we talk about if we need to change, we need to go back to our childhood and those things that we've been fashioned to believe.
Well, I will say going in, so listeners know, I'm a mother of 6. They range from age 11 to 22. So I've had to live what I'm about to talk about. It's so important for us as parents to be really honest in our homes with ourselves and with our children. We tend to want to shelter our children from all the negativity that's happening in our relationships, our economic struggles, these things that seem to be unpleasant. We want our kids to think that the world is all right. And that's a good intention. But in reality, what makes the world all right is our ability to experience hardship, get up, and go forward and do it again and help someone else do it again and again and again. That's what makes the world all right. If we fell down and couldn't get up, we would be in great trouble. And so as parents, we need to live an authentic life before our children. If you're upset about something, okay, if you're going to be out of control, you need to take that behind a closed door. But really living an authenticity with your family so that they see the real you. If integrity is whatever you do behind closed doors, it's the same outside. Whatever I see in the open, it's the same in secret. And so having honest conversation with your children, when you fail, saying to your children, okay, I was wrong about that. Sorry about that. I was wrong about that. Going to your children and saying, hey, here's what's happening, and here's where we need to pray. Here's what we're believing for. Here's where we want to go as a family, and here's how you participate in that. Making the journey of life an intimate journey with the people that you share the space with. Then you won't be fake to your kids, because when you fail, they expected it.
Right.
And when they fail, you can give them grace. So when you fail, they will give you back the same grace. And we are modeling for our children how to engage relationship and how to engage society. So it's really, really critical that as we are having our human experience in our homes, that we engage everyone at home authentically. And you said you were youth, it was youth group, so I could take it to church folks for a little bit here. You open that door. And I want to say to especially the people who are church folks and who carry the label of Christianity, it's really, really important that who you tell your kids God is, that you are that to them.
That's sweet, Lord.
Because we emulate the character of God. So if I'm shady and dishonest, that's the image of God that I give to them. If I could be authentic and gracious, that's the image that they see. And so we want them to become based on truth. So we are going to have to live truth. We're going to have to be honest with ourselves and engage our children in our journey and journey together. Parenting isn't separate from anything else in your life. It's who you are. We're not computers where you shut down PowerPoint and you open Excel.
Right.
And even those two apps are interconnected if you wanted to. And so we need to interconnect our lives authentically, but it goes back to understanding who we are. It goes right back to that. When you could accept yourself, there's no reason for hypocrisy.
When you can accept yourself, there's no reason for hypocrisy. And a contributor on social media says that fear of judgment, ridicule, and rejection causes one to live an inauthentic life. Showing one's true self takes courage, vulnerability, strength, and honesty. We have to take a quick commercial break, though. When we come back, folks, we're going to open up the telephone lines for your questions and your contributions. You're speaking here with Andrea, Rapier, friend, mother, soldier, life coach, everything as we part of our chart for the year 2020-22. Understanding that it is a paradigm shift. That's what is needed. Quick commercial break. We'll be right back, Grenada.
I take the next 6 months to pay my bills. When I think about it, Lord, it gives me chills. I don't mind 'cause Christmas comes
Christmas of the quarantine point. If you missed it, folks, I think it's an appointment you need to make with yourself. I know that I said yes, appointment you need to make with yourself. Not an appointment with anybody else, but just for your own greater good. Thank you and welcome back to The Point for today, the third day of the month of January. And every time I say that, I have to keep smiling because I have to remind myself. And I know, Andrea, that for the next couple of weeks, or days maybe, some of us will still be probably writing the dates wrong on the checks, in our diaries. I mean, I say, oh, shoots, no. It is 2022. We've highlighted so many different things, Andrea. We talk about, ultimately it's about change. But before we continue, I want to go to a caller that is on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live. Welcome to the program. Hello, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year to you. Welcome to the program.
I am like, wow. I am just wow this morning. This woman is dynamite. Grenadians need this for the new year, beginning of the new year. Perspective, intimacy, and relationship with your kids. Once you have that, honest with them, the sky is the limit for a better relationship to our family, our friends, and our country. Miss, wow. I'm really wow this morning. Are you not hearing me?
I'm just going to come. We're going to fix that. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing the caller?
I'm hearing you, yes.
I hear you, but not the caller.
I'm going to fix that. But thanks a lot, caller.
This is fantastic. Young man, God bless you.
God bless you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Andrea, I'm just going to translate in one word what she says. Wow. If ever you could encapsulate a person's perspective of what they have heard for the last half an hour, it is wow. Oh my gosh, we need this. What a way to start the year. 435-2041, that's the number on the inside. And certainly I want to say good morning to all those of you that's participating on the social media platform. Yuli and Alexander, again, happy holidays, happy new year. Welcome, folks. I see my friend Ian Roberts says, deep stuff, change of identity. This is your worldview, and it's about your belief and self-image. Mary Roger, happy new year to you. All of this... boy, oh boy. I keep... The ability to change is not always the easiest of things because we've taken years, Andrea, years. Mm-hmm. We didn't just wake up like this and we were 50. We've been teaching ourselves some bad habits for a lot of years. And as such, it would take some time. And I didn't know I did not, so we're not saying the next 50 years. But you intimated little shift, big impact. Let's extend on that. And how do we initiate those little shifts, the paradigm shift? Just a millimeter to the left, a millimeter to the right, but the impact is bang on target for greatest impact.
So it looks different. The formula is different for all of us. So we have to try different things to find it. Right. But all of it includes information. So we need to educate ourselves. We think and we create our lives based on our thoughts. Our thoughts are tangible real estate in our minds, and they manifest and create the life that we want. So to be able to change life, we must change what we're thinking. So we need to engage information. Information can transcend into our thoughts become our habits manifest our lives. So anyone who is listening to me now and want to make any significant change in their lives, understanding that it's not as difficult as it looks. If you're looking at a mountain, you only need a molehill adjustment, right? So what's your molehill? Let's find your molehill. Maybe it's listening to some motivational material on the internet. For those of you that are people of faith, maybe it's going back to the root of your faith and looking at the primary principles that you need to live by to engage your own life. For some of us, it's perhaps changing the environment we're in, who we're interacting with, the level at which we're looking our lives, just making a decision to begin to build a different type of life quality based on who you surround yourself by. For some of us, it might be seeing a therapist. I'm saying a bad word right now. It might be seeing a psychologist or a therapist or a life coach, someone who can listen to all the thoughts that you're going to pour out and help you compartmentalize these thoughts and ideas and get down to the root of the motivation behind your experiences. And that may be the eye-opener for you. Sometimes one statement, or sometimes you talking about it and hearing yourself, could be that 1 millimeter adjustment where the light bulb comes on for you and you shift. But the shift is from within. All of it adds up to a shift from within. For some of us, it's just we're one more experience from a shift. One experience. I will say, however, be patient with yourself. Begin the journey of seeking the shift and be patient with yourself. As Joseph said, it took us a while to get here. So we were not going to make that transition overnight into big change, but that little shift could become the seed and the spark to cause a flame of progress, a flame of evolution, a flame of revolution in how you live your life, a flame in how you parent, a flame in your next relationship or your current relationship. So your job is to seek truth.
Seek truth
from wherever it is sourced, and truth will shift you.
Good morning, caller, you live?
Yes, good morning to you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, and God's blessing to all of you. Now, I am hearing it all. Timely, very, very timely. Imagination, concepts, perspective, honesty, the conscience. Yes, all those things are there. We need the conversation. I have been trying to get a conversation for the whole week to discuss the same thing. Conversation. We argue with each other. We need a conversation. This is a serious era. People are losing mental capacity. And I have been saying this for quite some time. We need to dialogue with each other on a very serious level for our survival. If we fail to do those things, I would like the radio station to do what you call a whole day, maybe a whole of 2 hours in conversation. To the point is not sufficient because there is so much to do for us to fix this little land. We are in a very serious situation, and we're pushing vaccines through this pandemic and so forth. This is going to get people crazy. People are losing their mind. We have to turn around, I said to the politician, turn around for quite some time. Look the citizens in the eye and say to them, we have not served you well over the years, but we have pledged ourselves to changing our ways and attitudes. Start looking after people's well-being, people's development, people's successes. If we fail to do that, to put our citizens in a position to help ourselves economically, we are going to break down totally, socially. We have to make the conversation between our people. This conversation is too scarce and it's too argumental. That's the reason why what is happening to us is happening worldwide. Our leaders have lost their way, and we have to pull them back.
Okay, sir.
We're all going to perish.
Great, thank you very much.
Have a great day, sir.
Our leaders, Andrea, they've lost their way, and we need to rein them back in for fear that we all perish. We talk about change. We talk about understanding who we are. In order for me to appreciate you more, in terms of your individuality, I need to understand and accept who I am before I can even try to get into what's going on with you. And all of this is part of building character, leadership, making better human beings, better Grenadians, ultimately, of who we are, Andrea, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And the caller addressed two paradigms, which I think is beautiful. One is our leadership, but then he also looked at the people's responsibility. And I'm very happy he did that. First of all, leaders rise from among us. So we talked about self-leadership before. We, individual Grenadians, making the choice to lead, making the choice to lead our families, ourselves, our families, our communities, and then our country. So leadership is born in a very small place of you. But as we make leadership choices and as we become leaders in our community, we must remember that leadership is for service. It is for service. And we must also require of our leaders service. So we are all responsible for the paradigm in which we live, and we must take individual responsibility to change it. But we must all do it from the posture of service. So we're having this conversation as a service to our country, and we all play a different part. For you, it's a broadcaster. For me, it's community leadership. But all the parts that we play, back to self-realization and understanding who we are, all those parts that we play should be a part that serves. And if we will keep serving, if when we communicate on our issues, we will do it through service, we will dismantle the noise. So there's a lot of noise, and the noise makes it difficult for us to actualize ourselves. It makes it difficult for us to take our eyes off what they're doing, what's happening, to look at me and what my role is in bringing change. And so, if anything, the word conversation is the right word that our caller used. If we can have conversation, and that means an exchange of messaging. So you hear me and respect what I say. I hear you and I respect what you say because I respect you, the being.
I have a caller.
Not the doing, but the being.
I've got a call online, Andrea. Hello, caller, you're live.
Hi, JC. Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Andrea sounds pretty okay, but you see, there are certain things she said that I have questions with, which I won't go into right now. Now, the last caller, he's angry, and I understand his anger. Okay, because. Man, we're living in very, very perilous times. Thank you, JC.
Thank you, caller. All the best to you. 435-2041 as the number on the inside. It is to the point for today, the third day of January. And if nothing else, I want you to remember paradigm shift. Leadership. We exist in a culture, Andrea, where, but before, let's just go back to the caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live. Your contribution, please.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. Go ahead. Happy New Year to you.
Yes, congratulations. We are alive.
Yes, go ahead.
2022 has arrived and it's landed. Our priority now is going forward. Jason, something that is very important, because I hear you mention earlier on in your conversation about resolution. And I presume you're talking about New Year's resolution. But we have to understand something as individuals, and perhaps we can go on a corporate drive if we do that. One is the enabling environment in the land and the country that we live for, or to see the realization of your dream or your passion. No. In order for that to come into focus, or in the fold, do you understand the environment in which you live? If you don't, you become a square peg in a round hole. If you understand the environment in which you live, and it doesn't present, or you see evidence of the enabling environment to see the realization of your dream or your passion, you have to work individually and collectively to bring that enabling environment into existence. Then you apply yourself. And you measure your objectives as you go along, seeing it's in line with the realization of your goal, which is your dream. And eventually, we would have a growing, developing, socio-economic growth across the table for overall development. Thank you much.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the contribution. 15 minutes on to the hour. It is to the point for today. The first segment for the year. We go back to the telephone line. Classic, good morning, you're live.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, sir.
Yes. We have to guide, cloak, protect, guard our children. Even to some extent, we have to spoil them a little. Not a lot, a little. But it's better we do it as parents than somebody else doing it for us. I'm talking about the other somebodies to be the unsavories, the people who really don't love them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I couldn't agree with him. You know, I normally say I preferred Andrea to be said, to be called, to be in a state of paranoia, to be a loose cannon. I prefer to be referred to those things than to, as you said, to let one of those unsavory elements out there. Try to guide our children. In the midst of all of this, Andrea, I wanted to touch on something, triggers, because we talked about it, and God knows this has to be an ongoing. We talked about emotional intelligence, and that's a conversation all by itself. Yes. But to the seat of how we behave, there's something that's called a trigger. And I know each and every one, we've had that experience where, you know, we say to ourselves, all I said to him or her was this. Not much. And he or she behaved funny. And we all have those triggers, Andrea. And it's at the seat of understanding those triggers is what is needed in order for us to move ourselves to the next level, understanding what makes us tick, what makes me angry, what makes me sad, and allowing us to address those emotions. Hold that thought there for me, though, because I realize you're ready to belch out the response. But we have a caller, and it is all about the callers. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Well, Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Happy New Year to you.
I have something for you, I have something for you since last year, Lady George.
You have something for me since last year?
Sherry George.
Well, I'm carrying over all my blessings into the new year.
All right. So you know what, JC? What I'm looking at a shift. I'm looking at a shift not in terms of one person, but in terms of each and every one of us making a valuable contribution, a contribution that we've never had or seen before. We need something new, and sometimes I really don't know what it is. But it seems as though we have to put away the color, the party, and focus on Grenada. Many times we say the same thing over and over. We repeat ourselves over and over. We do the same thing over and over, and we get no result. So, this year I find Grenada should move to a different level, a different move, a different vibes, and let us get this thing right and take our time and see where we fail and move up. I'm probably looking at new leadership, right? Okay, that's all right. But when you look at healthcare, I'm looking at senior citizen, I'm looking at youth, I'm looking at agriculture, I'm looking at agro-processing, I'm looking at the carronage, the lovely place we have that need enhancing, our historical site, and let me take it bit by bit and see where we could come up with ideas, help one another. When we go to St. George's, we should be looking and see the things that are not going good and bring it to the fore. When we go to Grenville, we look at the sidewalk, bring it to the fore. Every time I walk now, I'm looking at something in my mind, jotting it down, so when the right time comes, I'll just bring it to the fore, because sometimes I don't really know who listening now.
Right.
But let us just move to a different level in Grenada and stop this foolishness that we had. I don't believe in the New Year resolution thing, because I am what I am. I'm just Sherry George, and that is it. So I ain't had nothing new to do, really. I'm just going ahead, seeing what I could, come up with. But let us just move to a different direction and see Grenada grow for the next generation, which is now.
Great.
Have a nice day. Come and collect your gift, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. 435-2041 is the number of the inside. We have to, yes, so before we broke, we took it. And for those that's probably just joining us, it's 10 minutes to the hour. My guest this morning, Andrea Rapier, soldier, soldier. She does not have a soldier face, right? Yeah, mother, 6, life coach, everything packed into one. Andrea, we were talking about the triggers. And it's important that before we go, if nothing else, we talk about the triggers in our lives, the things that sets us off. What are they? How they come about? And how do we recognize those triggers? Because it's a critical component if we really and truly want to identify who we are and make that turnaround. So let's talk about those triggers.
First, I'd like to say we all have so many triggers. It'll take a lifetime to find them all. So what we do is we need to create in our own selves a desire for authenticity. Let's start with that. Just wanting to be you, full out, no permission asked, no apologies made, authentically you. That puts you in a consciousness to observe yourself because you have to get to know you. And it'll take you a lifetime to discover yourself as well. So imagine for other people how long it'll take them to really understand you. So in this consciousness, you see yourself with certain patterns and certain behaviors, and it's pausing to ask the question. And the brilliance is in the question, not so much in the answer. Why did I do that? Why did I react like that? And backing it up, I did the same thing last week when. What's that? And allowing yourself to go to a painful place. The painful place of, I had to do it with myself. We try to be Iron Man, right? We put on this invincible suit, and we have all this power at our fingertips, and we can fly, and we can dive, and we can go across the world in seconds. This is who we want to be. Inside that suit, though, is a bleeding, heart-beating individual with needs and desires, strengths and weaknesses, successes and failures. And that's the place. That's how deep you have to go past your exterior to the place where it first began. And when you have the consciousness, the place shows up. The thing about truth is that it's seeking you while you're seeking it. So when you come to that place of consciousness and you pay attention to that specific behavior, you would discover within yourself the cause. And therefore, you know the cure. I will say this too, though. It's important that we give each other grace to be triggered. And what do I mean by that? Because the person blew up in anger doesn't mean I cut them off. I have my own triggers. I need someone to be gracious to me when I am uncomely. So it's living and creating a culture of grace for one another where we are allowed to bring our best self, knowing that the worst of me comes along with it. And so when those moments show up where I'm not as pretty as you thought I was, where I can breathe and say, you know what? We'll all be all right. You're still great. You're still wonderful. You're still capable, and you still bring value. And you are valueless. You cannot be measured. Who you are cannot be measured by anything. You are the only thing of value in the earth. Gold is what we say it is, because we are the value. The price of a house, what we say it is. Diamond is worth what we say it is. Whatever the stock market's doing, it's what we say it is, because we are the value. So if we begin to treat ourselves and one another as if we are the value, we have space for our bad triggers, because we also have good triggers, right? And so we've got to take Tony Sparks with Iron Man. We have to take them both.
And I'm happy that you said that, because it's important that we recognize. Where did I lose you?
I see you.
Well, for some reason I'm not hearing you in my headphones all of a sudden. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, you heard me. Okay, fine. And I'm happy because we're getting ready to wrap though. But I'm happy that you've highlighted this, triggers, because very often when we talk about triggers, people think negative triggers, but they are positive triggers. And I'm certain there are persons who've had the experience where you expose individuals to the same stimuli. Let's say music. And one person, for example, you play Josh Groban, one of his favorite songs. You play the same song, and one person will say to you, "It makes me sad. I feel depressed." Another person says, "Gee, it puts me on the top of the world." And that should serve as a guiding light for us, that very often different things in life, or the same thing in life, each and every one of us will have a different response to it. And that is specific in nature, not because I am playing this or playing that, but primarily because of our experiences, our past experiences, and where we've been. And before we end 5 minutes to the hour, we'll take the conversation to where we first started. It goes back to our childhood. If a girl was molested, a boy was molested as a child, as he or she grows, if you were told that you were ugly, you were worthless, somebody says that to you as an adult, what you react to, Andrea, is not the voice, is not the individual, but is that voice that is deep within the recesses of your soul that you're hearing, that's been seated 30, 40 years ago, that you're willing to say, "No more will I accept." I'll leave you with the last 30 seconds.
And sometimes, as an adult, the person doesn't have to say you're ugly or worthless. It's that we felt that way by something they did or said, and we hear them saying it in our heads, even if they didn't say it. And it's important for us to, and this is where grace is important. It's important for us to give and take the grace. Give yourself grace, give grace to others. But when you find your trigger, if you sort of quantify everything that we've talked about in the last hour and make it mean something for you, and you observe your trigger, you observe your reaction, take the journey deep within yourself and find a trigger. But then don't stay there. Don't stay in that place of pain, because you are not your past. You are not what they said. You are not how they make you feel. You are so much bigger. You are the expressed image of God. This is somebody taking a photo of me and turning it and showing it to you. That's my expressed image. So you are the expressed image of God with the capability to create, to imagine, to reimagine, to design, to redesign, to fall, to get up, and fall again and get up again. It is completely up to you and your power. And it's not God restraining you. It's what we believe about ourselves. So going back to value, measure who you are by your source, God Himself. And now come from that source with the understanding that the entire environment was designed for you to thrive. It was designed for you to fall and get up. It was designed for you to have the right to reimagine. It was designed for you to be the definition of your life, not someone else's choices, but your own. And you, as I ended last time, you are worth it. You deserve it.
You are worth it. You deserve it. You've probably never been told that before, but today you're hearing it. You are worth every inch of it. You're a child of the universe, and you have a right to be here. Folks, as we go through the year, starting today, the 3rd of January, let this be the start of a new dispensation, a start of a revolution, as the revolution that's hinged upon our resolution to become the best version of ourselves. And as I say to you every day, you sleep and you wake. What do? You give God thanks, accepting the gift of life, the gift of being here, and challenge yourself every day. I may have had my shortcomings, my failures, and important to it, Andrea, we talk about communication. How and what we allow to be part of our lives, and who. So, in the paradigm shift would allow us to say, I don't have difficulties. I have situations in my, and that's what I said. I don't have problems. I have situations in my life that I haven't quite yet figured out how to overcome. But I know I will. Don't make it a problem, because it may seem as a problem. That which may stand in front of you may just probably be your Goliath that you need to slay. Challenge yourself today. Thank you, Andrea. Indeed, it's always a pleasure being here with you. I look forward to having more of this conversation.
Thank you.
As we go deeper into the new year. All the best to you, folks. This is as far as I can. This is as far as I can take you today. The rest of it is up to you. The word for the day: paradigm shift. That's all it takes. An millimeter shift for a greater impact. That's all that's needed. Until then, so long, everybody. JC loves you. All the best with you. To you. I'll be continuing with you, though, on radio up until 12 midday. Great music, great information, right here in Classic Radio, 105.5, 105.9 on the FM band. Until then, so long.